Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
That's what's called the urgent Dig Dug music, as to be compared to the regular Dig Dug music. So, there you go. Welcome to Toker Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Radical Russ. That's Brian the Red over there.
Hey.
We have all sorts of goodies that we got to talk about here from our wonderful fans, sponsors, and supporters, and we want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you.
And especially you.
So there we go. Got that out of the way. But we got some toys in that we got to talk about. And first, we got our microscope cam.
We've got a new technology donation. We love it.
We're going to call it Bud Cam.
Bring you even more cool.
I'm going to focus here. Wait, no, keep it up for a second. I'm going to see if I can get a way far back shot.
Oh, the wide shot.
The wide shot.
Okay.
There.
So
trying. We might need some more light on the wide shot.
Some more light on the wire.
There we go. Let's see if we can focus that just a little better.
A little bit.
There you go. You can kind of see some shiny trichomes as I
go.
Boom in there just a little bit. And as we get closer, we'll see what we can get for you. There we go. See some shiny trichomes on that. This is some White Widow, I believe, is what we got going there. And we're going to keep messing with this and try to make better pictures and try to figure out how best to set it up. But it's just brand new to us right now. But there we go. Thank you very much for our listener there who sent that in, the Bud Cam. We really appreciate that. Yay. Also, we got a thank you note from the folks at Magical Butter, Radical Russ, and 420 Radio crew. We appreciate you taking time to show us around your beautiful city. Thank you for planning a great time, hitting so many highlights around the city. We look forward to many more adventures together. Cheers to goodness, the MB Seattle crew.
Excellent. We love those guys. We had a great time. And thanks for those medibles, too. I've been testing those out. And as soon as I find some contact information for you, I'll let you know.
Right on. And speaking of Magical Butter crew, I will be up there visiting them tomorrow night. I'll get into Seattle like 10:30 or something like that. So I'll be filming there. They're having a marijuana business vendor fair. And it's not open to the public. It's just vendors. It's just business to business stuff. So I'm going to take the new camera set up there and see what we can see.
Yeah. Well, just wish I could go up too,
Yeah. And then we've got from Weed Porn Daily, Oscar Diaz and folks at Weed Porn Daily, which is another one of our shows here on 420 Radio, sent us a thank you note and some hemp wicks. Right? You going to read that one out? What do you say on that one?
This one says, Dear Russ Belville, on behalf of Weed Porn Daily, I'd like to thank you for inviting us to 420 Radio. It's awesome to be with to be part of a network filled with such talented people in the cannabis industry, and particularly with the podcast business blooming. It's nice to have a network aggregating stoner-based syndications out there. Along with this letter, I've included some hemp wick and some business cards and stickers. May it serve you and your fellow tokers well.
Yeah. Weed Porn Daily. We'll put that sticker on the new bong.
Yep, and thank you again for everything you do. It's always a gift to meet positive influences in the industry. I wish you the best luck in your radical endeavors.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, and if you know someone out there who'd like to get a podcast started and talk about this stuff on a weekly basis, we've got a spot for you here on 420 Radio. Just go to our contact form. There's a subject line, I want a show, and we'll get you a show. We'll get you hooked up. I can get you hooked up damn near free. You might have to buy a mic.
And maybe we can throw a couple of these in some of our giveaways.
Oh, yeah, we'll give away some of the hemp wicks. And speaking of giveaways, we've got our Fan Friday trivia to talk about.
That's right, Russ. It's time once again for the High Times Fan Friday trivia question giveaway thingy.
That's right, Fan Friday trivia. So tomorrow we'll be giving away this December 1976 High Times magazine. It's got Jimmy Buffett in there. It's a double size mag. It's got the rolling papers on the back.
Yep, December 76, and there's always such cool information and stuff in here, and the ads for old, equipment. There's always ads for these phone tap devices. The little electronic locators.
Yep.
Let's see here. Oh, the bionic bomb.
And who was our winner for last week? I forgot to write it down.
That was Fran.
Fran, that's right. Medigro.
Medi.
Better type that in before I forget. All right, so our question this week is, what is the U.S. government patent number on the use of cannabinoids as neuroprotectants? What is the U.S. Now, if you listen to yesterday's show, you should know this. What is the U.S. government patent number on the use of cannabinoids as neuroprotectants? Send your correct answer in to russ@radicalruss.com or use the contact form. Either way will work. And with you got the correct answer, you'll be entered into the drawing, and we will send out a prize package that includes this High Times magazine by priority mail. So get your entry in today. It's absolutely free. It's our way of saying thanks. Be right back with a Radical Rant. Stick around.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today. 420 Radio, your ticket to Seattle Hemp Fest.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective.
Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Well, medical marijuana continues its long, slow, steady march straight into a political box canyon. I've got the latest states to talk about here that kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. The box canyon theory, which is the theory that the ultimate direction of medical marijuana is toward pharmaceuticals and not whole plant marijuana. And as people have become more aware and more supportive of medical marijuana, legislators are sometimes finding it difficult to translate rising popular support into political will, because there's established lobbies that represent law enforcement and other interests who are threatened by medical marijuana, and they throw up all these frustrating political roadblocks. This forces some of the legislators struggling to find some level of medical marijuana protections that will pass. For example, in Minnesota, law enforcement is close to killing prospects for a medical marijuana bill. Support for the measure only stands at 51%, according to the latest Minneapolis Star-Tribune poll. That's one of the lowest poll results I've ever seen on medical marijuana, just 51%. And in Minnesota, the opposition to outright legalization is almost 2-1. It's sitting at 63% opposition to legalization. Now, in that political context, Representative Carly Mellon has been trying to pass a medical marijuana bill, and she's been pretty frustrated as of late by law enforcement's refusal to compromise on the bill. Governor Mark Dayton has made that a requirement. If he's going to sign anything, there has to be some compromise with law enforcement, because he agrees with law enforcement's legitimate concerns. So, given that she's got a bare majority of support to work with, Representative Mellon met the police more than halfway and started paring away important parts of the medical marijuana bill. She offered to drop the provision allowing patients to grow their own medicine, no home grow. She offered to prohibit smoked medical marijuana in favor of vaporization. But that wasn't enough for Dennis Flaherty of the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, whose group favors only pill and oil forms of medical marijuana. Flaherty also objected that conditions like post-traumatic stress and intractable pain would be allowed because they present potential for abuse. Flaherty's group, the COPS, instead offered that medical marijuana should only be for AIDS, cancer, glaucoma, and seizures. And it should only be limited to high CBD versions with little to no THC. After all, the Minnesota Police Academy has such incredible medical training. And the Speaker of the House there in Minnesota, Paul Tisson, he said it's not likely that this bill is going to move forward without any compromise. And since the cops won't compromise, it's looking like medical marijuana will be dead in Minnesota for this session. Now let's move to the other end of the Mississippi River, down to the Delta, while Louisiana Representative Austin Baden, he has filed a bill that would legalize whole plant medical marijuana. That's a good thing. However, the other restrictions in his House Bill 720 tighten medical marijuana even more than these other no home grow laws. In fact, Austin Baden said, quote, "We can really control the medical marijuana," end quote. First restriction, in Louisiana, only neurologists, oncologists, and ophthalmologists who register for a state special license would be allowed to recommend cannabis. That's similar to New Jersey, that forces doctors to have to register with the state in order to recommend. But in Louisiana, it would be a smaller set of doctors, just neurologists, oncologists, and ophthalmologists. Louisiana would require the relationship with the patient to be a bona fide relationship, meaning that you can't just write the recommendation for the patient. You're going to have a longer term relationship with that patient. And the only thing you could qualify for in Louisiana would be terminal cancer, not just plain old cancer, terminal cancer, nausea produced by chemotherapy, not just any nausea, only chemotherapy nausea, glaucoma, multiple sclerosis, and seizure disorders like epilepsy. In the state, of course, there would be 6 cultivation centers, 1 per district to be able to grow marijuana, and 10 dispensaries, which is like 1 per human services district, 10 dispensaries for the whole state of Louisiana, statewide, and they must be licensed pharmacies. And I'm not exactly sure how that works out since pharmacies also deal with DEA prescription stuff and it might put their licenses in jeopardy, but they have to be licensed pharmacies. And they'd be limited to dispensing 1 month's supply of cannabis. How much is 1 month's supply of cannabis? Good question, because it doesn't say so what it is in the bill. It leaves it up to the medical board or somebody to set that up. Oh, and of course, it goes without saying, patients would not be able to cultivate their own medicine. Now, looking to other states across the country, Georgia and Kentucky are marching forward with CBD-only bills. The Kentucky Senate today unanimously approved a bill that would allow University of Kentucky and University of Louisville to treat only seizure disorders and only with CBD oil. Of course, the Kentucky police and the governor support this CBD-only medical marijuana bill, which simply provides exemptions in the definition of marijuana for cannabidiol. It basically says anything that's just cannabidiol is not illegal marijuana. It also allows for marijuana products that would be part of an FDA clinical trial in the future. Say if they wanted to bring in Sativex or Epidiolex from GW Pharmaceuticals, those would be exempt. They would not be defined as marijuana. This bill's likely to sail through the Kentucky House. It's already passed unanimously out of the Senate, according to the Speaker of the House, Greg Stumbo. Now, there was another medical marijuana bill in Kentucky. It was in the House, and it was a whole plant medical marijuana bill. But that bill just got shuttered off to the Judiciary Committee to die rather than putting it out on the floor. The senator who's sponsoring the CBD-only bill said her bill's the only one that could survive both the Senate and the House and get the governor's signature. So, whole plant medical marijuana bill cast aside, CBD-only bill looks like it'll sail through. Now, there's still some question as to how the universities of Kentucky and Louisville would be able to acquire CBD oil because there's nothing in the bill that allows for the production of cannabis plants, regardless of what their THC content is. But that question has recently been solved by the Georgia legislature, which is also passing a CBD-only medical marijuana bill. The Georgia Senate Health and Human Services Committee amended their CBD-only bill that came out of the House to allow for the possession of oil by Georgia patients if they acquire it from out of state, which they'd have to, because the Senate took away the part where the research schools could grow and process oil. Now, of course, crossing your state lines with CBD oil is still a federal crime, but Georgia lawmakers aren't concerned about that. The sponsor of the bill said, let's leave that decision to the parents. If they're willing to take the risk that a TSA agent will arrest them with a vial of oil, let's let them make that decision. What? Instead of having your research schools grow it in state, you're going to force your patients to commit a federal crime. Okay. Now, of course, the Georgia Senate's version of the CBD-only bill was written with the help of the Prosecuting Attorney's Council of Georgia, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and is supported by the Georgia Sheriff's Association. So all of these law enforcement groups in the state of Georgia are supporting, actively encouraging people of their state to violate federal laws. That's how far these people will go in denying just an open medical marijuana law that allows patients and doctors to make these decisions. And it's really surprising to me, coming from some of these people who I know, especially in these southern states, screamed bloody murder about Obamacare. Oh, God forbid we let the government get in between the decisions of doctors and patients. But when it comes to medical marijuana, you know, we don't go to the biologists and the researchers and the doctors for the healthcare diagnoses and the treatment. We've got to trust the cops and the prosecutors. We got to trust their medical education and their understanding of critical illnesses. Come on, man. There's been 20 medical marijuana states already. It's not like this is something new. And while I understand you could see some sort of abuses in some of the western states, to make these stricter than New Jersey makes no sense at all. But a lot doesn't make sense about prohibition. So we just have to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yep.
Hey, I had a caller who was trying to call all during that rant. Go ahead and call back after this break. But once I get started on a rant, man, I gotta go.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs. Get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs. We've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs. We've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up.
Cannabis Cure TV, starring Greg DeHote from Sussex, England. Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific on 420radio.org.
Welcome back, everybody. That's Backwoods Payback with You Know How This Works. All right, we're going to take a look at our voicemail, see if I get anything from the caller who was just trying to reach us from the 907 area code. Let's see what he had to say.
Hey, Russ, this is Eric up in Alaska again, talked to you about a month ago. I'm going to give you a call back here in just a minute, see if I can get on.
Right on. Give us a call back, Eric, man. We're looking forward to it. All right, checking out the... oh, by the way, there's some picture from BudCam up there on the chat, or on our video window. And let me see if I can get you...
The new 420 radio BudCam.
Yeah, there you go. BudCam. You can see some of them trichomes there on... This is some White Widow, so it's got a little white effect to it. We'll continue tinkering with it and seeing how we can...
Yeah, so this is going to be studio BudCam, and that one's going to be... like on-site BudCam?
Right.
Something like that. Traveling BudCam.
Traveling BudCam. I love it. It's a little hard to adjust, though. It's not really solid. We're going to do some things to solidify that and make it a little better. But thank you very much to our listener who sent that in to us.
We'll work on getting a different mount for it.
Yeah, yeah. We appreciate all of our listeners and all the support that we get here. I was just doing, getting the financials together because I got to file all the nonprofit, like taxes and paperwork for... Well, technically the nonprofit's called Radical Russ Media. And because I figured, trying to form a nonprofit called 420 Radio, the 420 might arouse some suspicions. So, yeah, Radical Russ Media, we're dedicated to providing educational materials, educational programs, and providing a communications channel for discussion of the news about cannabis. So that's our nonprofit mission. So I'm putting together all the financial records, and it's just kind of, amazing when I look back to see how generous y'all have been in keeping us on the air now for over a year, as independents. Thank you so much. We're past 360 shows. I did 900 shows for normal, so we're more than a third of the way in. Of course, the goal I want to do, of course, thousands of shows. This is my life. I love doing it. But to get
don't stop.
To get more than a third way, that's cool. Love it. All right. This Georgia bill, I got to talk about this a little more because it's fascinating. A speed limit hit upon exactly, what I was getting to, which is this is the state of Georgia openly defying the federal guidelines about marijuana. You remember that memo that came out and they said, here's 8 guidelines, right? Don't let kids get a hold of it. Don't let a bunch of money laundering happen. Don't let a bunch of violence happen. And one of their big points was no interstate trafficking. They want to see the legal marijuana leaking out of Colorado, Washington, and soon to be Alaska and Oregon. They want to make sure it stays an in-state experiment. So here's the state of Georgia saying, hey, look, if you got an epileptic kid, you fly out to Colorado and you get yourself a nice tub of that Charlotte's Web oil, you'll be perfectly legal to fly back into Georgia with it. We won't do a damn thing to you if you fly into Georgia with it. Wow. So in order to do that, of course, the person would have to go to Colorado and acquire the oil. The Denver airport and the Colorado Springs airport specifically forbid marijuana on their premises, and I believe the cannabidiol oil would fit right into that definition. And then they got to get it past the TSA guy, and go through and be terrified while they're doing that, I'm sure. And then they got to fly it into Hartsfield in Atlanta, Hartsfield Airport, which, I'm not sure they're cool with a whole bunch of cannabidiol oil flying in, because they're still dealing with federal situation, even if the state makes it legal. That's the Georgia State Senate Committee openly calling for defiance of the federal guidelines and interstate marijuana trafficking. Isn't that amazing? All right. Well, I was just about to pick up the call, 907, and you dropped. Okay, let me see. I will wait very patiently here.
You learn to interrupt your rants just a little bit.
Oh, no, I just saw it pop up. I was winding up my sentence, ready to answer the phone. Hey, coming up tonight, you'll got a replay of Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink. So stay tuned for that. Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink rerun and a new episode next week. All right, let's go to our caller from the great state of Alaska. How you doing out there?
Hey, am I talking to Russ?
You got it, man.
Hey, Russ, how you doing? I'm doing great. Beautiful, sunshiny day up here in the last frontier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Say, I just wanted to call and give a little bit of a shout-out here. We had a meeting here at the University of Alaska at the UAA there in Anchorage. And they're discussing the upcoming the initiative that, it's now on the ballot in August, to legalize here in the state. In fact, I talked to you here not too long ago, about a month ago. This is Eric, a volunteer with MPP. And so I ended up knowing about this days later, but I just found some of the information. Maybe you guys are more familiar with it than I am. But they did have a meeting there, and it was covered by AnchoragePress.com. News is Alaska's weed question different. And I noticed that I printed this, and I noticed that there's a sidebar on this, and I didn't get that on the print. But I was, and having been a volunteer with the MPP, I was under the impression that the language that was written into the initiative at the time actually had a place for that, and that certain municipalities, because it's based on the Colorado laws there, and whatever they got there in Colorado, is that municipalities, et cetera, could decide whether to have a dry town, state, village, whatever. And because that information apparently is not really clear yet at this point, it seems that the Alaska Native corporations are coming out in opposition to this initiative. Reason being that a lot of them are dry villages and stuff, and they are concerned with the ability to ban if they can, which I don't understand. But anyway, that's the story that I wanted to bring up. I just think that there's some clarification. We really haven't started into an information campaign yet. I mean, as far as is Alaska's weed question different by Scott Christensen, as posted Thursday, March 13. And his header is, even without organized opposition, Alaska's marijuana initiative is attracting healthy debate. On Wednesday, March 5, about a week after the Citizens Initiative was approved for a statewide vote, a forum took place at the University of Alaska Anchorage. The UAA Justice Center reported attendance at over 200 on its blog. The audience seemed weighed toward the pro-pot cause. And that's the opening paragraph. This was attended by some of Alaska's illustrious luminaries. Ethan Needleman, founder and executive director of the Drug Policy Alliance. Taylor Bickford campaigned to regulate America like alcohol in Alaska, and I've talked with Taylor before. Lance Burkholtz, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. LEAP, you probably know those people.
Yeah, no Lance.
Dean Giuliani, former Chief Assistant Attorney General for the state of Alaska, and Ben Court, Smart Approaches to Marijuana, known as acronym SAM.
Oh, Ben. Ben's a fun one. He's a recovered addict, you see. So there's no higher horse than the high horse of a recovered addict, let me tell you.
Well, that's the point here. This discussion was actually hosted by, or was attended. The panel was actually people that are in the know and have some knowledge. They're not ignorant of the facts. And so anyway, this is cropped up, and I'm sure this will have to be addressed in the future. But if you want to look at it, it's at www.anchoragepress.com. Also, it was covered by Alaska Public Media at alaskapublic.org, and click on the radio tab at the top there, and you will get it, I think, on like the third it'll be a third one down.
Okay.
You can listen to the whole 2-hour thing or the short version. That's both there.
All right, I'll follow up on that because I'm quite interested.
I know you look shit up.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in Alaska's legalization because it would be happening in August, and that would be a big push for the campaign in Oregon as we'd be moving forward. So that would be awesome. With respect to what you said about local control, I did look shit up. If you go to regulatemarijuanainalaska.org, I know it's a long thing to type, isn't it? regulatemarijuanainalaska.org/full-initiative-text. It's right there. And section 17.38.110 is local control, and part A right there. A local government may prohibit the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, or retail marijuana stores through the enactment of an ordinance or by voter initiative. So yeah, there's going to be some places in Alaska that are going to be dry.
That's what I suspected the sidebar was all about, which I didn't get in a print, and unfortunately I got all this information this morning. I'm like 2 weeks behind on this, and I just read it real quick and listened to part of the panel, and thought I'd pass the information on.
Yes.
So,
glad you did.
Anyway, that's what's up in the great state of Alaska.
Right on. Thank you so much for your call.
Oh, thank you, Russ. Keep up the good work. I pass it on. We got some more local listeners that I've passed on that you're out there. You guys are out there, and the 420 radio's out there and available. And a great learning tool, as well as insight into the cannabis community nationwide. That's very important.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for your call. And just looking at our old High Times magazine, we got the trans high market quotations for Alaskan weed in 1976.
December 76.
That's right, end of 76. So if you wanted a fair to good ounce of domestic Alaskan, it's $35 to $65.
An ounce.
So there you go. All right, let's go back to the phones. Another call coming in here from 816 area code. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio.
Hi, Russ and Brian the Red. Hey, nice to see the Bud Cam in there. That'll be a great addition to the studio.
Oh, yeah. We're loving it already.
Kind of edgy on the outsides, but you guys will work it out.
Yeah.
But, I'm calling from way deep behind enemy lines in Missouri. And here's a situation with the CBD that I see going, and I happen to see a conference that Show Me Cannabis had with some legislatures, and this is a gigantic Trojan horse for the drug warriors and their people and all this. It seems like it's going to build more, and I'd like you to speak to this, either one of you, both of you. It's going to build more walls to moving forward by them. You know, I mean, all of a sudden you've got law enforcement being the legislatures as to how this is all going to be written, and you know, it seems to be they're the go-to ones about what's going to be allowed. It's only going to be CBD with no Delta 9, and you know, I've been watching since you've been on, Russ, and as far as how do you feel about any movement is still good movement?
Good question.
My point, you know, is like, at one point when they build all these other laws into Kevin 9 only and no Delta 9, and then you're left with stripping all that down. You know, you see where this is going?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm almost a CBD warrior at this point.
You know, it's
because this is what the southern states are doing. See, this is their chicken way to appease. And if you could speak to that, and great show as always. You guys are fantastic. And I'll hang up and listen if that's okay.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you so much for the question. All right, so yeah, here's the problem, right? It's like when we started medical marijuana in '96, we wheeled out the sickest cancer patient and said, "My God, how could you not support, this law? It would help this sick cancer patient," right? And so those of us that were healthy tokers were like, "Well, all right, well, we'll support that because, if the people see cancer patients getting help with marijuana, that's going to open their minds, and they're going to eventually realize that marijuana is no big deal, and it'll eventually get legalized for us." And you could say that worked because it's kind of the path we went in Colorado. It's the path we took in Washington. It's where we're going in Oregon, Alaska, California. All passed medical marijuana before they passed or are about to pass legalized marijuana. But does that same pathway hold true if it ends up being just CBD only? Because you've got the same kind of situation. You got the poor, sick epileptic kid instead of the cancer patient. And you got, how could you not support something that's going to help this poor epileptic kid? How do you turn to the parents of an epileptic kid that could benefit? And I know the argument about CBD also needs THC to, let's put that aside for just a second. But if indeed it's just CBD with little to no THC, that would still help somebody. That ratio still might help some kids. So how do you turn to the parent of that kid and say, no, we can't go forward with the CBD bill because it ruins our prospects for real medical marijuana or legalization or whatever your point might be? I mean, it's almost as if the cops got smart and figured out our own little tactic and are using it against us now. So this is difficult. And I feel for Carly Mellon up there in Minnesota. She was trading away home grow. She was trading away smoking, and still wasn't enough because they want it to be oil only, non-smoked, only for sick epileptic kids and cancer patients, right? The cops want a medical marijuana where, if you think of it this way, think of medical marijuana as a spectrum, right? On one end of the spectrum is the paralyzed AIDS victim cancer patient with hepatitis C suffering from glaucoma. Okay. And on the other end is me with my sore muscle from falling on my bike the other day. Right? So you got this spectrum of people that use cannabis, or even maybe farther in that spectrum are, people that just like to smoke pot. Whatever, but there's a spectrum of cannabis use, right? The cops want that spectrum to be so far toward the hep C AIDS patient, cancer, glaucoma, seizure person that nobody could possibly look at that person and say they're faking it to get high. Yeah. The closer it gets to our side of the spectrum, the closer it gets to a possibility where someone could point at them and say, they might be faking to get high. That's what freaks the cops and the prosecutors out, because of course their job is they are charged, and a lot of their identity, that's something Neil Franklin talked about, a lot of their identity is wrapped up in going after and finding people and stopping them from getting high. So they don't want a medical marijuana where it makes it tougher for their job to find the people that are getting high. See, I think sometimes our side has a kind of a complex, and I don't blame them, because I mean, we've been attacked by the cops for so long. How could you not hate cops? But this tendency to think in cartoon villain terms about cops, like, we'll deny those patients their medicine. No, I think a lot of these guys are compassionate, and they totally are cool with the cancer patient or the AIDS patient or whatever. The key is in ending the part of their job that requires them to go after people that are getting high. Until that is ended, they're never going to support a medical marijuana that makes their job harder. And that's why they keep pushing the bills to the farther end of the spectrum. This is why legalization is the path we have to fight for really strongly. And that's not to say you give up on CBD or you give up on medical marijuana in some of these tough states, but you always do it with the eye forward to legalization. You always do it with the framing and the rhetoric that says that we're not trying to restrict it to just these people. We're trying to open it up to just these people. Subtle difference in framing, but it means a big deal. If you're trying to say, well, this is CBD, it doesn't get anyone high, and we're just going to restrict it to the kids with epilepsy, then you're setting a pathway that says it needs to be corralled. But if you say, marijuana is an amazing medicine, but since there are many concerns, we're going to start by opening it up just to the sick kids with epilepsy who need CBD. Now you've got a frame that says this is a trial, this is a test, and if it goes better, we'll expand it. Now, that's a danger, because the other side of the aisle or the issue is going to say, aha, it's just a stalking horse to legalization. And the reply to that is, we are going to do a careful, cautious first step with this CBD oil. And if it goes well, why wouldn't we expand it? Why wouldn't we want to offer better medicine to more people? So that's, I guess my answer on it is, it's a matter of how you phrase it, how you frame it. That's what I would think. When we come back, we'll talk more about this, because it's a very tough topic here in the community right now, and we'll take more calls and just wrap. So stick around.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers, because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
Let them bring in the beat. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let them bring in the beat.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups.
There was one question that was voted on that ranked fairly high, and that was whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. And I don't know what this says about the online audience, but
DEA is running over a guy in a walker. My money!
Welcome back, everyone. Toker Talk Radio, live from Rolla J Studios here in beautiful Portland, Oregon. Continuing our discussions here of medical marijuana, CBD-only bills in the South. And I'm going to turn my attention to Washington State again, just for the fun of it, because I'm reading Aftershock Phil in our chat room, who's very upset about the changes that are coming to Washington State's medical marijuana program. Those changes being regulation. And one of the... Let's see what he says here. Let me just go right back up. Okay. Here we go. Recreation wins due to taxing. Yes, partially so. Medical users here supported recreational and lost medical for it. Okay, but recreational users supported medical in the first place and waited 14 years for someone to make them legal. Let's see. What else do we have on here? Recreational. Let's see. Limited plant counts due or thanks to recreation. Okay, so the limited plant counts he's talking about is Washington State going from being able to grow 15 plants to being able to grow 3 mature plants and 6 immature plants, but your doctor can still recommend up to the 15 plants if you're really, really sick and need it. So the people who really, really need 15 plants can still really, really get 15 plants. Closing all dispensaries due to recreation. No, closing unregulated collective gardens that are skating by using a loophole that are unregulated and pay no taxes. See, I'm tired of this thing of recreational marijuana somehow all of a sudden is the reason why medical marijuana is getting regulated in Washington State. As if we didn't pass recreational marijuana, those collective loopholes would have continued just humming along, not getting raided, not getting shut down, not getting banned. Cops would have been fine just to let them continue to run unregulated, untaxed. That would have been just fine. no longer allowing collective gardens due to recreation. No, actually, they will be allowing collective gardens. Now, they won't be 10-person collective gardens disguised as a storefront where the next person who walks in joins the collective garden and then the 10th person is kicked out of the collective garden. They won't be 10-person collective gardens with 45 plants where only one person has to be growing those plants and the other 10 people or the other 9 people merely hand over money. They will allow collective gardening of 4 patients who actually help with the gardening, who are actually collectively gardening, will still be allowed to collectively garden. They'll be able to collectively garden their maximum allotment of plants, which the minimum could be 12 mature plants, 12 seedlings for those 4 patients. But the maximum, again, since each of their doctors could recommend up to 15 plants if they're really, really sick, could be a collective garden of 4 patients with 60 plants, not 45. And the tax revenues. Washington thinks they're running their own cartel now. Well, aside from nobody from Washington is going to hack off anyone's head, dissolve their opponents in a vat of acid, or, bribe officials and run prisons and all that. Aside from that part, they're just like cartels. Just like cartels, yes. This is something where I understand the community's upset over this. I understand why there's a shall I say, a strain within this community that believes marijuana should be treated like tomatoes, right? Despite the fact tomatoes don't get you high. But they feel like, marijuana is a freely growing herb and everyone should be able to grow it and it should just be free and we should all, it's so beneficial that we should be able to get that relief for free. I agree. Absolutely. Sure. Wonderful. But what's the plan that gets us to that point? The plans I've heard so far about doing all volunteer signature drives and having true legalization that repeals all marijuana laws and removes it from the drug scheduling altogether is absolutely what I'd love to see happen. But what did happen is what has happened. Now, Phil also mentions that after 2015, they will reevaluate whether to allow any medical home grow, and we all know how that's going to fly. All right. So, what shall we do about it? This is why I'm a little upset about this, is because there's been 14 years to bring this into some sort of regulation, to show some sort of good faith negotiation with the state. There's been all of this time to try to get this in order. And we recreational users have been going to jail. I know there's this misconception that Washington State was decriminalized. It was not. In Washington State, possession of any amount of marijuana below 40 grams was a misdemeanor for which you got a minimum 24 hours in jail, mandatory minimum 24 hours in jail, and then could get more time and more fines and stuff. So, what were we to do? It's been 14 years. Thousands of people getting arrested in Washington State year after year after year. And the only plan that's brought before us for our liberty is the pie in the sky, repeal all laws, has no signatures, has no financial backing, has no major national backing. That's the only thing that was ever presented to us. Only thing we ever got from the leaders of Washington's marijuana movement. And from what I see, not much in the way of regulating medical marijuana either. So medical marijuana continues cruising along for 14 years, unregulated as hell. The abuses continuing to pile up, the national view and the local view and the state legislature view of 20-somethings getting their dock in the tent recommendation at Hempfest before they hit the mosh pit for head PE. These farmers markets and dispensaries and everybody playing wink, wink, nudge, nudge, openly defying what they knew was the intent of the law. When the intent of the law was caregiver for one patient at one time, it did not mean storefront dispensary. When the intent of the law was collective gardens for 10 patients, it meant 10 patients running a garden not a storefront that serves 9 people at one time. You all knew what the intent of those laws were and openly defied them. So what was to happen? What was supposed to happen? When I-502 comes along and has national backing and has good poll numbers and has major funders and has a shot in hell of passing and makes the ballot, what is a recreational consumer supposed to do? Not vote for their own freedom, not vote for their own liberation, vote to continue being a criminal because medical marijuana didn't get its shit together in 14 years? Now, I'm not a fan of a lot of these changes that are happening with Washington State's medical marijuana, but even with what's happening with Washington State medical marijuana, Washington State's still going to have one of the best, most lenient programs in the country. It's still going to be a damn fine program compared to New Jersey. So is this an overreaction? Yeah, I think it's an overreaction. I think they've gone too far. I don't think they need to be restricting medical marijuana as much as they are. I think they could have given medical marijuana more tax breaks. But there was a time to fight for that too. There is a time to negotiate and a time to work with people to put a legalization together that would protect and enhance medical marijuana. That would have been a very smart idea. Let's come up with an initiative where we legalize, and as we legalize, recognize that we've got this out of control, unregulated medical marijuana thing, and set up some sort of regulation and taxation scheme for it. I mean, really, if activists had gone forward and said, look, we'll let's have a 5 or 10% tax on medical, but you can have that 25, 25, 25 on recreational. If they'd have fought for a low tax, they'd at least gotten something lower than ending up being stuck with the high recreational taxes. But there's such absolutism in the movement sometimes. No taxes, no medicine should ever be taxed. It should never be taxed and it should never be regulated. And my God, a registry, that's like sex offenders. And it gets so extreme that nobody can work with those guys and nobody can come up with some sort of regulation. When it comes to legalization, they scream bloody murder if you try to write any medical in it. We learned that lesson in Oregon. We actually had the Octa here in Oregon at one point, and it was going to, was it the 2006 iteration, I think it was. The 2006 iteration repealed and superseded all marijuana laws in Oregon to be replaced by legalization. And the legalization was going to legalize, I don't remember what the numbers were, six plants, 6 ounces, it doesn't matter. But it was going to legalize for all adults, a bunch of plants, and a bunch of weed, and make stores and all that kind of stuff. For everyone. No more medical, just everyone. Everyone has stores, everyone can go shopping, everybody can possess, everybody can grow. The medical marijuana people shot it down. The medical marijuana people complained about that bill because it got rid of the medical marijuana law. And we said, well, what difference does it make now? If it's legal for everyone, we all have the same limits. You won't have to go get a card. You won't have to go see a doctor. It won't matter. And here's what their paranoid conspiratorial minds came up with. Well, if we legalize marijuana for everyone, then we make pot shops, then the federal government's going to come in and raid everybody and shut the whole thing down and invalidate all the laws, and then there'll be no marijuana laws for anybody, even patients. Neglecting the fact that the federal government cannot invalidate a law with respect to possession and cultivation personally, right? They can invalidate the parts about pot shops. They can invalidate the parts about, buying and selling and all that. They can't invalidate the part. They cannot force a state to punish us for possession and cultivation. And we explained that to them numerous times, and they still killed it. That was my first lesson about patience against legalization, and I've learned many more since. All right, folks, that's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Coming up next, we got Jorge Cervantes TV, and later tonight, a replay of Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
growing, you're giant, you're